Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next 30 minutes, Joe Biden says he'll now push for a ceasefire in Gaza after the Israel-Lebanon truce. International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor seeks an arrest warrant for the head of Myanmar's military regime for crimes against the country's Rohingya Muslim minority. Heavy rains lashed India's southern state of Tamil Nadu and neighbouring Sri Lanka due to a cyclonic depression over the Bay of Bengal. And Bangladesh remains on edge after Indian religious figures arrest and denial of bail. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has said that the United States would start its renewed push for a Gaza ceasefire on Wednesday, a day after U.S. President Joe Biden announced a separate ceasefire between Israel and Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. U.S. President Joe Biden tweeted, and I quote, "Over the coming days, the United States will make another push with Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, Israel and others to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza with the hostages released and an end to the war without Hamas in power." Earlier, the Hamas had said it was committed to cooperating with any efforts to secure a ceasefire in Gaza, where the group has been battling Israeli forces for more than a year. In a statement issued after Israel and Hezbollah agreed to a ceasefire in Lebanon, Hamas also said any ceasefire in Gaza must put an end to the war there and lead to the withdrawal of Israeli forces from the enclave. Hamas official Sami Abu Zuri on Wednesday said that the group appreciates Lebanon's right to reach an agreement that protects its people and it hopes for a deal to end the war in Gaza. It added that an agreement must end the war, pull Israeli forces out of Gaza, return displaced Gazans to their homes and achieve a hostages for prisoners swap deal. And British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah should be used to push for a wider ceasefire in the region. Starmer also said that the UK will continue selling arms to Israel to defend itself against attacks such as those from Iran.
Mr. Speaker, the ceasefire announced in Lebanon is long overdue, but demonstrates that diplomacy can succeed even in the most challenging of circumstances. We must seize this opportunity to build trust, de-escalate tensions and push for a wider ceasefire. I've set out my position very, very clearly in relation to the sale of capability to Israel to defend itself against attacks such as those from Iran. And I'm very clear that we'll continue to do so.
The British PM making that statement in the British Parliament. Now, a temporary yet much awaited relief for several displaced civilians at Israeli-Lebanon border as ceasefire deal between Israel and Lebanon came into effect at 200 hours GMT or 7:30 IST on Wednesday. Here's more in this report.
It is a breather for these civilians as ceasefire comes into effect. These are the visuals of traffic on the road near Sidon. The displaced people are returning to southern Lebanon. The ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon came into effect from 2 hours GMT or 7:30 IST on Wednesday after 14 months long conflict that started on October 7th last year with Hezbollah launching cross-border strikes on Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a televised speech, said that Israel is implementing the ceasefire deal to bring a halt to its conflict with Hezbollah in Lebanon, but will respond forcefully to any violation.
So why implement a ceasefire now? There are three main reasons. The first reason is to focus on the Iranian threat. The second reason is to give our forces a breather and replenish stocks. And the third reason for having a ceasefire is to separate the fronts and isolate Hamas. From day 2 of the war, Hamas was counting on Hezbollah to fight by its side. When Hezbollah is out of the picture, Hamas is left alone in the fight. Our pressure on it will intensify and that will help us in our sacred mission of releasing our hostages.
The ceasefire agreement was brokered by the United States and France.
Fighting across the Lebanese-Israeli border will end. Will end. This is designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities. What is left of Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations will not be allowed, I emphasize, will not be allowed to threaten the security of Israel again. Over the next 60 days, the Lebanese army and state security forces will deploy and take control of their own territory once again. Hezbollah terrorist infrastructure in southern Lebanon will not be allowed to be rebuilt. And over the next 60 days, Israel will gradually withdraw its remaining forces. And civilians on both sides will soon be able to safely return to their communities.
Je tenais à saluer l'accord de cessez-le-feu agréé.
This ceasefire needs to be respected in the long term. In order to restore the Lebanese people's security, the Israeli people's security, permit the safe return of displaced people from these two countries to their homes, and therefore allow the restoration of the sovereignty of the Lebanon. This agreement should also open the path for a ceasefire too, long awaited with regard to the incomparable suffering of the population in Gaza.
The Israeli army, warned soon after the ceasefire began, said that residents of South Lebanon should not approach Israel Defense Forces positions and villages its forces had ordered to be evacuated. As part of the truce, Lebanon forces will begin their deployment towards the south over a 60-day period, during which Israel will have a phased withdrawal from Lebanese territory. The deal also requires Hezbollah to retreat from the southern border. Leaders from across the globe are welcoming the deal. India has welcomed the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon that has been announced. The statement says, "We welcome the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon that has been announced. We have always called for de-escalation, restraint, and return to the path of dialogue and diplomacy. We hope these developments will lead to peace and stability in the wider region."
So we will be working with the new Trump administration in a good manner and look at what is ahead of us. I have some experience to working with President Trump from his former mandate, so there's something to build on. And I think very important is that we analyze together what our shared interests are and work with that.
The ceasefire promises to end a conflict across the Israeli-Lebanese border that has claimed several lives. But will the conflict actually end remains to be seen. With Bureau Inputs, Ayushi Bhatnagar's report for DD India.
Now, the prosecutor for the International Criminal Court has said on Wednesday that he would seek an arrest warrant for Myanmar's military leader Min Aung Hlaing for crimes against humanity over the alleged prosecution of Rohingyas. However, Myanmar's junta has said that the country is not a member of the ICC and does not recognize its statements. A panel of 3 judges will now decide if they agree there are reasonable grounds to believe General Hlaing bears criminal responsibility for the deportation and persecution of Rohingya in Myanmar and Bangladesh. There is no set time frame for their decision, but it generally takes around 3 months to rule on issuing an arrest warrant.
This is the first application for an arrest warrant against a high-level Myanmar government official that my office is filing. More will follow. Today's application is the outcome of an independent and impartial investigation based upon a wide variety of evidence from numerous sources, such as witness testimonies, including from insider witnesses, and authenticated, credible photographic and video materials.
Now, India's southern state of Tamil Nadu witnessed widespread rains as the depression over the Bay of Bengal intensified into a deep depression. Projections by the Met Department has shown the deep depression may intensify into a cyclone. A red alert has also been issued in Nagapattinam, Mayiladuthurai and Tiruvarur districts. The cyclonic storm is predicted to bring strong winds, heavy rainfall and high sea waves along Tamil Nadu's coastal districts including Nagapattinam, Puducherry, Cuddalore and Chennai. The National Disaster Response Force has been deployed in Tamil Nadu's vulnerable districts like Nagapattinam, Mayiladuthurai and Kadalur. Relief camps, medical teams and emergency operation centers have been set up to tackle the situation. Moreover, schools and colleges are also to remain closed in several regions in the anticipation of heavy rainfall. And neighbouring Sri Lanka also reels under severe weather conditions as the deep depression over the south-west Bay of Bengal is likely to intensify further, and it might take the shape and form of Cyclone Fengal. That's the nomenclature for it. Heavy rains have triggered floods in Sri Lanka and the death toll has risen to 4. 6 people also remain missing and 8 others have been injured as well. The Sri Lankan Meteorology Department has reported that the deep depression was located 120 kilometers east of Trincomalee at 8:30 in the morning today. Heavy rainfall exceeding 200 millimeters is expected in many regions. The department has urged naval and fishing communities to avoid deep and shallow sea areas around the island. In response, the Lankan Army and Navy have been deployed for emergency relief operations, and these include assisting children or students sitting for advanced level examinations. Hotlines too have been set up by the DMC and Sri Lanka Police to support affected residents. Additionally, the National Building Research Organisation has issued red alert for potential landslides in Kandy, Matale and Numaru Elia districts. Lankan President Anurakumara Dissanayake has directed officials to provide immediate relief services to the affected people in disaster-stricken areas as well. An unprecedented turmoil in Bangladesh continues after Hindu leader Chinmay Krishnadas Brahmachari was arrested on sedition charges and denied bail. At least 6 people have been arrested and 21 detained in the case involving the death of an advocate during clashes following the arrest of the Hindu monk. The High Court has asked the government to inform the court about its stance regarding Hindu religious organization ISKCON, its activities and what steps it has taken about it. It passed an order after hearing a writ petition seeking a ban on ISKCON and issuance of Section 144 in Chattogram or Chittagong and Rangpur to ward off any unwanted incidents. Meanwhile, a probe is underway into the alleged killing of the lawyer. People have been asked to keep calm and stay away from participating in any untoward activities. And India's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party leaders and workers led by West Bengal leader of opposition Shubhendu Adhikari held a protest march to the Bangladesh consulate in Kolkata on Wednesday. In New Delhi, Union Minister Giriraj Singh said the attack on Hindus in Bangladesh reflects that the interim government of that country is in the clutches of fundamentalists and sought the intervention of the United Nations in the matter.
मैं धन्यवाद दूंगा भारत सरकार के एम्बेसी को जिसने कड़ा रुख अख्तियार किया है, लेकिन अब समय आ गया है कि अब संयुक्त राष्ट्र संघ को भी इस पर संज्ञान में लेना चाहिए.
While addressing the French Asia Pacific Commission and the Foreign Trade Advisors Forum, Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal highlighted that the two countries share a relationship founded on strategic depth and a shared vision for the Indo-Pacific. The Indian minister noted that the roadmap outlined in Horizon 2047 aligns closely with India's national goal of becoming a developed nation within the next 25 years.
Over the decades, our partnership has evolved into a robust framework encompassing defense, space exploration, civil nuclear energy, digitalization, and our vision, our shared vision for the Indo-Pacific region. The adoption of the Horizon 2047 roadmap has further solidified our shared vision for the next 25 years. Bilateral trade between India and France in our financial year 2024 ended on March 31st reached $15 billion, with Indian exports at about $7 billion and imports at about $8 billion. pretty much a balanced trade.
Sophie Prima, Minister Delegate for Foreign Trade and French Nationals Abroad, attached to the Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs of France, is currently on a 3-day visit to India. Her visit aims to enhance the ease of doing business and promote investment flows between the two nations. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. The International Film Festival of India is hosting a special centenary celebration paying tribute to Bollywood's iconic stars. More on that in just a bit.
छोटे थे तो माँ प्यार से मूर्ख बुलाती थी, मूर्खानंद, और ये तो सच में मूर्ख समझते हैं। कस्टम डिपार्टमेंट वाले बन के कॉल कर रहे हैं और कह रहे हैं कि आपके पार्सल से ड्रग्स पकड़ा गया। सब समझते हैं, पहले डराएंगे फिर कहेंगे पैसे ट्रांसफ़र करो। अब प्यार से चाहे जो बुला लो, पर मैं मूर्ख नहीं हूँ, याद रहे। यूपीआई सेफ है। यदि आपको भी कोई इस तरह डराना चाहे तो उसे कहो मैं मूर्ख नहीं हूँ।
जिंदगी की हर छोटी बड़ी जरूरत के लिए आप जो सपने सजाते हैं, बस उसी उम्मीद को तो हम सहारा लगाते हैं। SIP आपकी सेविंग्स को आपकी खातिर काम पर लगाएगी। आज ही अपनी पहली SIP की शुरुआत करें। अधिक जानकारी के लिए अपने वित्तीय सलाहकार से परामर्श करें। LIC म्यूचुअल फंड द्वारा निवेशक शिक्षा की एक पहल।
म्यूचुअल फंड निवेश बाजार के जोखिम के अधीन है। योजना से संबंधित सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Bharat Cybersecurity Startup Exhibition is focusing on areas like threat intelligence, operational tech security and advanced analytics, highlighting India's entrepreneurial potential in cybersecurity. The startups talk to DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh about cybersecurity issues and their domain expertise.
So cybersecurity has become quite robust now, may it be for individuals, organizations, small, medium or large scale businesses. In this age of AI hacking and cyber threat scenario, antiviruses and threat protection systems are not enough. So people say that I have an antivirus, I have a firewall, I'm protected. Not exactly, because it's more robust and complicated. So Cyber Digita Consultants, we have gone ahead and built a cyber security system which is 100% made by India, made for analysts. So we've made it a complete comprehensive cyber defense platform.
Cybersecurity, I would say the significance of cybersecurity in India is very huge. Why? Because the potential is huge and it's become the second largest data hall of India itself, because next to China we are the largest, and data becoming more and more secure and more important for everyone in the industry. It has become very good. And as an organization, we as an InSpark, we are a part of Amrita University, which is basically a startup company incubated under Amrita University itself. We've been here for the last 5 years, and starting from Amrita itself, we are managing the large installations of Government of India itself from a cybersecurity stand-up.
So cybersecurity in current phase of India is growing because bigger and bigger, is getting bigger day by day. The requirement of cybersecurity tool, because as we are large in population and also the systems are getting online, huge amount of data is being collected. So our platform is completely integrated with us AI/ML and it's AI/ML. And so we are increasing the efficiency by up to 60%, and also the SOC analyst, which do the analysis of all the SOC tools, their man hour is decreased by 90%.
So like I said, 42 Labs is into quantum safe, post-quantum cryptography based cybersecurity solutions. We primarily take care of data, we take care of access, and we take care of digital operations, which is almost the entire gamut of digital security. So it's a platform that helps you secure your data, users, and operations. So in the context of today's exercise, Bharat NCX, cybersecurity has to be thought of in two prongs. The first approach would be Atmanirbharta, which is indigenous. The second is every company has global aspirations. So from that perspective, what you build for today has to last longer.
Chief General Upendra Dwivedi attended the event on Indian Army's role in securing India's growth story organized by the Department of Defense and Strategic Studies. In his address, General Dwivedi emphasized that for a prosperous India by 2047, two key factors are essential: progress and peace. He highlighted the Army's role in supporting national efforts towards the goal of a Viksit Bharat, that's developed India by 2047.
When we talk about prosperous nation 2047, I think two prefixes are very important: progressive and peaceful. And moment you add this, the net security provider happens to be the Indian Army. We are seeking avenues to bring together capacities to support and augment lines of effort of the nation towards the goal of Viksit Bharat 2047. In J&K, we have been able to transform theme of terrorism to tourism.
Now, Germany needs hundreds of thousands of skilled workers from abroad each year to fill the labour gap. According to a new study, failure to attract these new workers could shrink the size of the German workforce considerably. But is Germany attractive enough for foreign workers? For more on this, we're joined by DW's Wada Imran in Berlin. How are you, Wada? Now, why is there suddenly such a big labour gap in Germany? Tell us about it.
Thanks for having me. Well, the biggest reason this is happening is because the baby boomer generation, or the generation of people born between 1946 and 1964, these are called baby boomers. This is the generation in Germany that's going to retire or has already retired, leaving these spaces in employment in different sectors and industries. This presents huge challenges for Germany, which usually relies on a strong and stable workforce. Now, a new study from the Bertelsmann Foundation here poses two scenarios. One is the optimistic one, which says that Germany needs an influx of over 250,000 workers per year. And if this doesn't happen, then the German workforce would shrink by 10% without, quote, substantial migration. And a second, more pessimistic scenario is that Germany would need more than 360,000 workers from abroad each year until 2040, and then 270,000 workers until the year 2060, meaning that Germany could still be hunting for more talent 30 years later.
Thank you. Now, many countries globally are looking to attract more skilled workers. Is Germany doing enough to pull in more talent?
Well, it depends on who you ask. If you ask the skilled workers from abroad, then they would tell you Germany is doing far less than what it should to become an attractive destination. Many complain of an unfriendly and unwelcoming environment with much bureaucracy and red tape. Many also complain of little to no support in learning the language, and that expats and immigrants are looked down upon for not speaking native level German. Now, you may say there are other European countries that are also strict in language or are different culturally, but this is observed more here in Germany. Another issue is where foreign talent wants to go. The study we talked about earlier also says that the biggest contraction in workforce will be seen in eastern German states, that is Thuringia, Saxony-Anhalt, and Saarland. And it is in this area precisely that there's a more right-wing leaning population, and it's not a region foreign workers are enthusiastic to go. Berlin, Hamburg, and Brandenburg are still doing okay.
And what are the economic implications of a shrinking workforce?
Well, a shrinking workforce is normally bad news. It automatically implies lower economic growth. And according to a recent study by Center for Global Development, countries with positive working age population growth see close to 3% annual GDP growth. And on the other hand, countries with negative population growth see just 1.4% of annual GDP growth. So that's half of the first scenario. This shows how important the workforce is globally. Another impact of a shrinking workforce population is a cut in the tax collection and rising dependency ratio. One example, let's say, that I can think of is of Japan, where a huge country which has a huge amount of aging population sees how the dynamics shift. And as we talked about dependency, this creates more pressure on middle-aged working people. Germany's aging population is set to touch 30% by 2030. This would mean a quarter of the entire German population will be above the age of 65. and this will hit the economy hard. That's why the government and industries are trying to lure in workers from abroad to fill these gaps.
Bada Imran, thank you for joining us from Berlin. Now, India's D. Gukesh made a strong comeback in the third game of FIDE World Chess Championship in Singapore on Wednesday. Gukesh handed defending champion Ding Liren of China first defeat in the championship after 37 moves. The world's youngest challenger has drawn level with Liren on 1.5 points each. Liren had won the first game while the second ended in a draw. The championship consists of 14 games. The first player to score 7.5 points will be crowned the world champion. If the match ends in a tie after 14 games, a tiebreaker will be held on the following day to determine the winner. Now, Article 370 is premiering at the International Film Festival of India, which is underway in the coastal Indian state of Goa, and on the sidelines of the global premiere, Yami Gautam Dhar had an exclusive interaction with DD India's Deepika Mahato and talked about Kashmir, its growing popularity and more. Take a look.
We have with us the spectacular actor Yami Gautam Dhar. Very good evening and thank you so much for exclusively talking to DD India.
Thank you so much for having me for this conversation. It's such an honor reading DD, a channel that we all Indians connect so dearly. So thank you so much.
Now, we are seeing Kashmir celebrating its Constitution Day today after almost 7 decades, rather more than 7 decades. You leading the pack with Article 370 through this very strong audiovisual medium, which is cinema.
I look at it with a lot of humility, with a lot of gratitude for our audience in my heart. If the film is a success, it's success because of them. They made it a success story. To be associated with it and for a film to do well, it's a huge encouragement as an artist that should go by your script, go by your gut and make a good film, and the audience will always give it all the love.
Having shot for Article 370, having studied about Kashmir, where do you see Kashmir as today?
We shot in Kashmir for the film, and having felt what we were shooting right there live was a different feeling altogether. To see the Indian flag being hosted in its full glory, that was a huge moment of pride. Tourism was thronging, so there was traffic. I said, why there is traffic? I said, because there are so many tourist buses, and it just feels so good to see people happy there.
One quick last question. You would have heard about Prasar Bharati's own OTT platform, which is Waves.
There's always surprises which can spring from anywhere, and OTT has been one of the biggest ones and as an artist, I'm trying my best to balance both. I have successful releases in theaters and on OTT. They both matter a lot to me. For me, they both are audiences. It's getting globalized. I think that's a massive achievement, and the thought of the world becoming a global image, we're literally seeing it with our own eyes. So it's a big change.
So there you heard Yami Gautam talking about the changing landscape there in Kashmir and technology with the arrival of OTT. With camera person Ajit, this is Deepika reporting for DD India from Goa.
Well, you heard Waves being mentioned there, so let me tell you a little more about it. Well, India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched Waves, which is an entry into the field of OTT platforms. Now, Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you also want to create content for free, then you can download Waves today. It's available on both Android and iOS. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.